Welcome to the Growing the Future Mastermind, where we learn from experts in the agricultural industry. And just as importantly, we're going to learn from each other. Thanks so much for joining us from this strange in between space. What day is it? How many cookies did I have? What is actually going on planet Earth right now? We're just kind of in between that space, but I'm really excited to be here today with Melissa Ostash. So let's just say hi quick to Melissa before I give you a rundown of what's going to happen. Melissa, good morning.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited for this. This is new. This is again New Year, do new things, right? So
The day
yeah.
after New Year's, we are trying something new. This is for both of us, for both of us. But yeah, so I want to give everybody a little bit of a rundown here, some housekeeping, how we can make the most of this time together. Please, you can drop questions into the chat at any time. You don't need to wait to the end. If you're thinking it, it's likely that somebody else probably is too. So we're all going to learn from the questions that get asked today. And remember, we have to circle back to Cheryl Lynn's question about protein. Don't let me forget on that, Melissa. But
I won't let you.
we need to set a simple rule for this next hour. Let's suspend judgment. Let's suspend judgment on everyone that's here and on ourselves for whatever happened over the holidays. We're getting back at it. And I wanted to share a little bit of context for why Melissa is here and why this matters to me, because I'm about halfway through my 6-month tenure coaching program with Melissa. And prior to working with her, you might have known me as like the carnivore guy, the keto guy, the fasting guy. I had a juicing guy moment after some documentary on Netflix. Melissa and I were joking about that earlier. I'm an extreme guy by nature. That's how I'm wired. But Melissa has helped me to slow down and bring balance into there. And I finally feel like I've got something I can make sustainable. And the result for me, knowing how my calories are adding up, how to balance my macros, how to develop a different way of eating, is that I haven't just had some weight loss. That's been true. Hopefully it's evident, but it's been better energy, better consistency, and a life track that feels a lot more sustainable. And I've been able to enjoy food in a different way than I did before, because there were so many things that were, in my mind labeled as evil. Like, I can't have that. I cannot have that, so I was missing out on a whole sector of the food universe. So the small things make a huge difference. Water, fiber, protein, all that good stuff. We're going to talk about that today. And I'm looking forward to getting my own accountability rebooted. I'm here with all of you as a student of Melissa, and really looking forward to it. Melissa was referred to me by my little brother, who's always ahead of me as an inspiration, doing things that I got to try and keep up with in life. It's a tough job. But Melissa is a nutrition and fitness coach who's worked with a wide range of people. But what I love about Melissa is that she gets agriculture. And she was joking in the green room before we got started that she could just as well talk about chemistry for crops as nutrition for people's health. You work for Adama in the agriculture
Yeah.
industry. So she knows the challenges that we have in agriculture, farm schedules, agribusiness travel, trade shows, long days, and the food and temptation that comes with it. It's all about that, culture. But we in agriculture, we should be the healthiest people out there on planet Earth, no?
You would think, but I guess the trends are, sit down, have some drinks, eat appetizers, stuff like that. That's the go-to. You go to every conference and well, thinking of ag days coming up, the lounges are the ones that are filled right up, right? So and sure
Yeah.
it's a time to visit and stuff, but yeah, yeah,
So
limits
we
are
take we
pushed.
take breaded with our beer. That's just the way it rolls, and it's all good. But this program is fantastic. Your coaching structure, Melissa, is awesome, and we were talking about it as well. It's not just the knowledge. And I'll confess, like, I made a bot of Melissa, and it has all the knowledge. She was a little bit blown away when I showed her. This is you in Chat GPT, and it talks just like her too. And it's helpful, but you need that accountability. You need that accountability. So we're going to learn from Melissa today, but ultimately it's my hope that, and she's got limited space. She only takes on X amount of people per term, and she's starting a whole year program. But I
Okay.
hope that some of you will join in this journey of accountability. So we're going to hear a little bit about Melissa's story. Um, we're going to hear what we're going to be talking about in the lesson. So, one thing I didn't think about is what should we challenge everybody to put in the chat, Melissa? Like, what would be the one thing that you would encourage people to message us about to let us know they're on the call today? Anything comes to mind?
I think since everyone's on here, clearly like health, nutrition, maybe even fat loss is a topic of interest, clearly. So, what's your biggest struggle when it comes to improving your health, wellness, your fitness? What is it?
Wow.
And be honest,
That's a good one.
right? I'm
That is a
challenging
good
you.
one. Yeah. And I'm going to answer that too by saying my challenge has always been extreme dieting
Mhm.
and just like I was like the carnivore king. I did like 50 days of carnivore and I had like an initial euphoria, but it ran its course and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just something my body said, it ain't you can't do that anymore. Like we know
Yeah.
you loved it. And it's the belief, right? It's the belief that you kind of get into these things and they can work for you for a while, but our body needs a balanced program, which we're going to talk about today. So somebody already shared today mental awareness and yeah, share what's your biggest challenges so we can try and help you address that on the call today. So Melissa, before we get into what we're going to be talking about in the course, tell us your journey. You said that in the new year, I'm going to challenge you here. You were going to share more about your journey with
Yeah.
everybody. So here you are. You got a live studio audience. What do you want to
Yeah.
share so everybody feels it? Kendall Gee says, staying consistent through the busy time in the spring and summer. Thank you. Come on,
Yeah.
people. We got 20 people on the call here and two answers. Let's come on, let's get into it here. Share, no judgment. You got a story, Melissa. What
I
happened in your
do.
life that gives you such purpose and passion?
So it honestly starts, I grew up overweight. So by age 8, I was overweight. By age 10, I was obese. I was rural Saskatchewan gal attending an elementary school in the village of Calder. So my class is 10. I was the largest one, not only largest, but tallest. I'm 5'11. So I had that going for me a little bit. But yeah, it was a challenge. And I grew up buying the plus size clothing. So I couldn't wear like teen fashion and stuff like that. It was a challenge, right? I didn't like myself. I didn't like my living circumstances to begin with, and it just food was my crutch. I was an emotional eater. I learned from the best by watching my mom be an emotional eater and her following along the diet trends, whether it was, oh gosh, slim fast, slim quick, doing shake replacements, the cabbage soup diet. It was a lot of cabbage.
You are
Stuff like that.
Ukrainian. You are Ukrainian. That is Ukrainian approved.
It is. I still like cabbage to this day, but that was a lot of cabbage. Um, yeah, it was just diet after diet because, or like a supplement, or like I said, the Slim Fast, Slim Quick. Remember they had in high school, I was actively taking those packets you could put in water bottles, and it was supposed to be the Slim Quick water, whatever, to help shed fat. And here I am, overweight in high school, thinking this is gonna be the solution. And again, it was not, it never was the solution. And I kept doing these trends for the longest time. And it wasn't until I got into actually college that I really dialed it down and had to dial down my persona at that time as well, because I was the fat, outgoing, fun party girl. That was my identity because that's how I thought people would like me. So
Yeah.
you would catch me at the Thirsty Thursdays, Fridays. I don't know. I think I had why not Tuesdays, Mondays. I don't even know. I can't even remember.
Get a
But
drink for
if
every
there
day of
was,
the week.
yeah, if there was a reason to go out and party and show that I was fun and outgoing, I was there, and that's what I made my identity and tried to get people to like me because of it. And I hated it. I actually hated myself for it because I'm like, why am I doing this? Hangovers suck, but here I am. So Yeah, party girl. Waking up first thing when I'm in school to go to A&W to get a poutine because I'm hungover and felt like I'm gonna say a bag of dicks. So nothing comforts you like good old food, right?
Yeah.
And that was drilled into me, really. It was food was my dopamine kick. It was my crutch. It was anything. If I felt sad, I would turn to it. If I was happy and wanted to celebrate, heck, go to food, right? Like let's really make it on top of the world. So it was recognizing that, but something kind of clicked. So I did go to Lakeland College, and I went, and again, Vermilion's not a huge town in Alberta, but they had a gym at the time called Fit Chicks, and I signed up because you know what? I'm like, you know what? I'm strong. I always told myself I was strong. And sure, I had muscle because again, when you are overweight, like I was over 300 pounds, you do have muscle to support your body. That is something many people don't understand that, but yeah, you have muscle under there. So went to the gym, signed up. The lady was kind of questioning, she did all the vital things, measurements and whatnot, took my blood pressure, and I was like 22, I think, 21, 22, and I had high blood pressure. And I'm like, this is probably something I should get under control. Because yeah, to actually sign up, then I had to get a doctor's approval and everything else because it was high. It was high. It was in borderline high. It was high blood pressure. And that was kind of the wake up call that really I should start focusing on improving my health. So it started off with workouts, and I would spend hours in the gym, which you don't need to, but again, early 20s, going to school, I made that work in progress, or made that my goal to work off whatever I ate because I had that mindset as well that you could out eat a poor diet. You can't. Trust me. And then what else would I do? I calorie counted. And everyone's like, a calorie is a calorie. Yes, but you have to be in a calorie deficit to actually lose fat. And if you want to lose fat and maintain your muscle, so this is where I was really going wrong, you have to make sure you're eating enough protein. So a lot of times when I was calorie counting, and I did a practicum, and I was actually, and I remember this, I was in Whitecourt, Alberta at the time. I would eat like, I would wake up first thing in the morning, go hit the gym, be there from 5:30 to 7:30, which blows my mind because I'm like, I can't do that now. Um, and then eat like a couple eggs for breakfast. So when you think of eggs, it's 120 calories or 140. Usually it's around 70 calories an egg and 6 grams of protein. So 12 grams of protein. Well, that was my breakfast. And then I would go into lunch and I would have this salad with just a little bit of balsamic vinegar, not even an oil or anything like that. And that was my lunch because again, I'm calorie counting. And then my supper would be, I don't even know because I'd be ravenous at that point. Like, you're freaking hungry, you're going to overeat, and then you're going to binge. And that was my cycle for a long time as well. So don't get me wrong, I did lose fat over time, but I also lost a lot of muscle in the process. And I would say I lost probably like between 50 and 70 pounds by doing that method. And I don't recommend that method at all.
Yeah, because you lost
And
some hair too.
yeah. So this comes further on, actually, and it doesn't start until I actually started working with my first coach. And don't get me wrong, he actually taught me about macros and kind of influenced my perspective of becoming a nutrition coach and further getting my personal training and stuff like that. But he started explaining macronutrients and everything else. And you know what? I started off with him and I told him I want to get strong. So we really worked on home gym workouts, which I have a pretty good um, setup. So that was easy to do. Worked on building muscle for the time period, and then he put me in a cut. And at that time, I thought this was fine, like whatever. I'm a very type A personality person, so give me a plan and I will follow it to a T. And I did so, and by doing so, I was still um yeah, he didn't teach the right things. So especially for women's health, you need to eat X amount of fats. he would really push the low fats thing, 0% fat, stuff like that. And that's for hormone health. And then just really low calories, very high protein, that now that I've been nutrition coaching and understand nutrition coaching, for somebody that's eating that low of calories, I was missing a bunch of other nutrients as well because most of my food was protein, right? So it was almost like he had me on more of a carnivore, but again, I wasn't eating just strictly meat, but very high protein, moderate, low carbs, low fat. And that actually that actually took such a toll on my body because again, I was strength training. He had me seeking progressive overload and everything else that I went to from one extreme to the next extreme of overworking or undereating and overworking out. So yeah, that was where I was losing my hair. I was wired and tired constantly and didn't have balance in my life, like literally lost. And again, I know there's a bunch of guys on here about lost my menstrual cycle. So like
Yeah.
it went from being obese to like way on the other end. So just something to be aware of. There are those extremes, and finding that middle ground is a blessing because yeah, losing 120 lifetime pounds, it took time for me, and it took me learning everything because yeah, understanding how to fuel your body, understanding when to eat, when to what to eat, understanding what to eat, how to create your plate, how to navigate social settings. And I think those questions are popping up with alcohol and everything else. Like there's ways to navigate them, but you gotta remind yourself why you're doing lots of these things and what's your why. And I think one of the biggest moments I could ever remember is when going back to college, my best friend at the time, I really put a halt to my drinking and partying. I would go out maybe once a week versus like all the time. And I remember her looking at me being like, I miss the old you, and like actually crying about it. And I'm like, I'm not well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that external influence it's hard.
There's a lot to unpack there. But one thing that really hit me, and I think most people experience as being really visceral if they join the program, it seems to be the central common knowledge about weight loss and nutrition these days is that like keto and
Mm.
low carb is the thing. And I know there's going to be a module about fad diets, crash diets, all that good stuff. But am I wrong to say, like, for most people, and when I started your program, I was in this weird world of I haven't eaten so many forbidden foods this much. Like, how am I ever going to lose some weight? And for the first 3 weeks, I was like totally in denial. I was, Melissa, this is not going to work. I'm not exceedingly happy about this. And she's like, have patience, stay on the program, it'll come. And it did. And now I get to have all these foods that before were forbidden. It takes
Right.
away a lot of that feeling of missing out of a bunch of other stuff. But I wonder, have we lost the capacity to think of a balanced diet and the things that matter in society given the cultural programming? Because this is for real.
I think we did like there's so many trend sell, extreme sell, fear-based marketing sells. It like people just gravitate to those. And when they hear that somebody dropped, I don't know, when you do keto, you could lose like what, 17 pounds, I don't know, in like a month or something.
Try
You
40.
got
I know someone
I,
on the call
uh,
that did 40.
like
And yeah.
so yeah, keto, like you're losing your glycogen storages basically. So you're losing a shit ton of water weight because glycogen is what holds your water weight. So we got to remember when you eat 1 gram of carbs, you retain 4 grams of water. So when you eat a lot of carbs and you step on the scale the next day, yeah, it's going to go up. But we got to remember that's not fat gain. There's a difference between fat and weight. And weight is typically, sure, it can be a little bit of fat, but a lot of it's water, etc. Even food, like if you eat a big meal the night before, food takes time to break down, the scale could jump up. So you ate even saltier foods as well, thinking of it like that. You ate I don't know, pizza. It was a bit saltier, higher cheese, processed meats. You step on a scale, it's up 5 pounds. Well, you didn't gain 5 pounds overnight. kind of like you don't lose 5 pounds overnight. And you got to think of it that way because it takes 3,500 calories to gain a pound. And you have to be in a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories to lose a pound. And people are terrified by that scale. And that's something I work with my clients is to understand that, hey, and for men, you don't have to deal with this, but especially for women, that time of month, the scale is going to go up, right? Because of hormones, we're gifted with this. And not only are our workouts more challenging, but life kind of sucks at that point. But yeah, once you're in that routine of like, or once you understand that scale and what to expect, it makes it easier to understand and really working on those averages versus that day to day.
I get to skip the question on the questionnaire every week about the menopause, and then how's all that work? And it's like, doesn't apply. I'm good.
No.
But when you're talking about that, what comes to mind for me is when you're measuring all these things, your macros and your calories and your weight every day, you start to get tuned into what's going to change and what's your baseline. You can see the effects of what's going on and trust the process. But and there's different levels where your weight starts to drop off rather suddenly at times, and then you hit these plateaus, which is really interesting. But I wanted to get to some of the questions in the chat because I love that and I want to keep it going in that direction. So let's get through some of them, and then hopefully folks will ask some more questions because it's what you want to know that everybody wants to know. And I'm not going to read out all the comments that were shared here, but I really appreciate it. Obviously, staying consistent and just getting going and overcoming things that are bad for you, but you still do it anyways. Story of my life, touching the hot stove. Um, Garnet shared that he's used to work out a lot and probably over obsessed with some of those stuff. And I think I've been through that too, where I mean, I did 75 hard a whole bunch of times, and I think I got over 300 days on it on total, and I finished it once. But I'm just not in a space where I want to do that in life anymore, and I want to stay sustainable for I want this to be the rest of my life, and that's where you talk about working with people for at least a year. But specifically, Brett Jensen, thank you, Brett, and Happy New Year. What does our body need to start the day? A good breakfast. How soon after we get up? What's your philosophy about meals, and specifically breakfast?
So I'm a big breakfast pusher because I also was that person that would skip it to reserve calories for later on in the day. So again,
Right.
when it comes to unhealthy eating habits, I think I have a checkbox for everything. But I'm a big advocate of starting your day off right. And a really good rule of thumb, depending on your protein target and goal, minimum 30 grams of protein, minimum 30 grams, and starting it off higher fiber as well, because those two go hand in hand. Protein is going to help with satiety, and so is fiber. They keep you fuller longer. Protein takes longer to digest. It's just, we often underfuel our bodies with protein. And lots of times working in ag, heck, even like me being on the chemical side, I have to get up early, have to go to a meeting, etc., something. Stop at the local whatever McDonald's, grab a coffee and go, and that's your breakfast, right? Or make a coffee and hit the road. And then by the time lunch comes again, you're over hungry, and then you're going to overeat. And we don't think about that, or we eat. I don't like empty calories, and I don't like saying carbs are empty calories, but we're eating foods that are easily digested, and they don't really provide that long lasting energy. Whereas, like again, protein's going to do that. So for breakfast, strongly encourage at least 30 grams of protein, ideally from whole foods. And by whole foods, I mean like your meats, poultry, fish, etc. I'm not sure many people are eating fish first thing in the morning, but who knows? Eggs, dairy, yeah, those are all really good protein sources there that are whole foods. And then you can dabble with, of course, like your beans and stuff like that. But I think there was that question about protein too. And now that we're talking about it, I might as well just keep
Do it.
going into
Go
it
there. Yeah.
if that works.
Yeah.
But meats meats, dairies, those are your whole proteins, and also whey protein powders. So whey is based off of milk, right? Yeah. So it's a dairy based protein powder like whey is. So those are complete protein sources. And what that means is that they have all essential amino acids in there. So you're not lacking any of them. Whereas some incomplete protein sources are more so um, not soy. Actually, soy is a complete one, but your like beans, lentils, pea protein powders. I know some people struggle digesting whey and stuff like that. So your grains, vegetables, those are incomplete and they just don't have the full amino acid profile, which your meats will, your meats, dairy, yeah, those ones do. So you can what they say is like you don't need to 100% worry about if you're okay using a vegan protein powder and have to make sure that you're pairing it with a whole protein one to get them in because you do have those reserves if you are eating enough complete ones. So just being aware of that you can mix them up throughout your day. They don't 100% need to be your complete ones, but that's kind of the breakdown of complete and incomplete. One has the full amino acid profile, and one's lacking a little bit.
Turning conventional wisdom in the culture on its head by suggesting such a crazy notion of go ahead and have breakfast.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
used to fast. I mean, I was proud when I was like, no, I got 24 hours locked in. I was doing lots of 48s, fasting. And the second day is, I mean, you got a weird kind of clarity and there, I think fasting has its place now and then, but you're going to address all that in depth in the course, like the crazy. One thing that
yeah.
I found was really great you did on social media was you were myth busting all these diets and yeah, it gives you pause. You're like, yeah, that's a little wild.
Yeah. And like fasting, especially for women, I know there's a few women on here, but it's not good for us. It's not good for our rhythm and everything else. For men, they can get away with, you guys can get away with it a little bit more. But again, anyone that's married on here probably agrees that we're complex.
Mm. Hmm. Maybe that's a different course.
It's a different course. That's out of my scope of practice, though.
Yeah, might as well. Although some refer to me as a relationship expert, but um, Chris is asking, and this is, I mean, obviously a huge one. But Chris is saying, what? He's challenging me on that. I know, right? That'll be a different course in the mastermind. Chris is asking, how did you, I know you touched on it, but how did you overcome alcohol, or did you, or mystery? What's happening with you and alcohol? Give us a skinny.
So I really don't drink a lot of alcohol anymore. The last time I did drink, well, we were in Italy in December, so I had
Fair.
wine there, which is glorious. But I really don't drink a lot of alcohol. Um, Once you start like understanding that your body doesn't digest it. So alcohol is kind of funny because it comes in at 7 calories per gram, whereas like protein and carbs are 4 calories and fats are 9. So alcohol is kind of its own category. And I started listening to a lot more podcasts like he changed his podcast name, but like the sober bodybuilder and stuff like that. And they really highlighted about like, hey, your body doesn't digest alcohol. It basically wants to get rid of it, excrete it, right? There's no nutritional values there, and quite frankly, it is a carcinogen. I'll be honest and upfront. So alcohol it's not good for you, but I still like saying moderation is key here. Um, a really good thing, and I teach all my clients this, is set a drink limit when you are going to drink. And some of you guys are probably like, oh my goodness, like how do you do that? Because when I'm going out to drink, I'm there from heck 7:30 till 3 a.m., right? If not 4. But setting a drink limit is really what you need to do. And you just got to follow through with it. I know it could take time, so maybe you'll have a higher and work your way down lower so that maybe you're having 4 drinks a night versus, the 24 pack of Bud Lights if people still drink that rice water and
That reminds me of that guy that got interviewed coming out of the LBS there. And he was saying, four drinks a night, man. Like, you can't even get halfway there with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. I've been
And
sober now for two years, and it's wonderful, and I really
you
enjoy
don't
the
miss
zero
it.
beers. But
Yeah,
the joy of the feeling of wellness at 50. I mean, I could definitely do a course about sobriety. I just think it's great, but everybody's got to figure that out. And
yeah.
obviously, I would say too, if you're counting your calories though, and you're serious about making the program, and you know
It
that
helps.
Melissa's going to kick your butt in the Loom video summary of your life at the end of that nutritional week, you can't have much. Just like
Yeah,
I can't have many of the deep fried scallops at Sushi Hut that I used to think were healthy because it's
yeah,
250 calories per mouthful of grease. And my daughter
yeah,
ordered like 20 of them. That's what she eats when
yeah.
we go there. But I can't, it starts to put things in perspective. Like you're burning up your mileage, whereas if you have a healthy breakfast, it's just dialing all that in. So
I
yeah.
think I would sooner eat my calories. That's really what it came down to at the end of the day is I would sooner eat my calories versus drinking them. And when you start thinking about some of those drinks, if you're not getting so clearer ones are going to be lower calorie and they're coming around, I don't know, 1 ounce of vodka is I think around 60 calories,
Hmm.
um, around there. Whereas you get darker ones, they start ranging closer to that 100 calories a pop. Well, then you add mix on top of that. You add multiple, like it's so easy. Heck, and then again, I could go back to my college days where they would have wing and beer night, pitchers of beer for $10. Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't Michelob's Ultra, I could say that much. So like they add up quick. It adds up quick. So setting a drink limit and then alternating between an alcoholic beverage and a glass of water because alcohol dehydrates the shit out of you. Sorry, I don't know if you like talk slang and stuff like that on you, but I
Yeah.
am.
We can do slang.
Okay. Yeah, so like it dehydrates you. It like you're not going to feel good in the morning, right? So alcohol, it has its toll on its body. You're going to take 48 to 72 hours to actually remove it from your system. That's how long it takes to excrete alcohol out because it takes that long. Our bodies, again, we don't digest it. We excrete it. Like it's a weird process. So it takes 48 to 72 hours. Usually we see a jump in the scale. Usually if you wear an Oura ring or Apple Watch or any smartwatch, you're going to see that your sleep scores drop. And that's just because your body is digesting alcohol. So it's kind of eye-opening to see what those effects are. And again, once you realize, hey, if I don't drink or I don't drink as much, I feel better.
And is
I
that not
have
when you exhale fat is when you're sleeping? You wonder where your fat
it,
goes? It gets exhaled into
yeah,
the air.
it does exhale through the air. So the cells so something that is if you lose a lot of fat, like the fat cells are there, but they're empty. So
Mm.
lots of times people misperceive that, but yeah, the fat cells are there, but they're empty. And yeah, you do when you burn fat, so you breathe it out. It's weird.
Yeah, I heard that sleep has a big impact on your ability to lose weight,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
sleep is just, I mean, if you follow Brian Johnson, the guy who wants to live forever, who's like 40 something and he's got the
yeah,
heart rate of an 18-year-old, the number one thing for your health that you can do is have a low resting heart rate before bed, which for him is like 8:30 p.m. And this is a man who's working on living forever. So, Brett Jensen is asking, do you recommend some healthy oil with meals?
yeah, yeah. I'm actually I like a good olive oil, I'll be honest.
Mhm.
Canola oil, you know what? People, and I laugh at this working in the ag industry. People fear the seed oils. And again, this is that moderation is key. If you're dousing everything in canola oil, probably not the best idea, but if you're using it as your PAM cooking spray and stuff like that, sure, it's good. Butter, I'm a big fan of butter. Sourdough, I'm a sourdougher. Yeah, my husband loves it. But butter's king. Honestly, I am a big butter fan, but a good sourced olive oil works really nice if you're wanting to like roast veggies, stuff like that. Heck, get a really fine quality one, and you could even dip your bread in it, and it tastes phenomenal.
Mm, taking you back to Europe. I think it's interesting. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people built a career off of trending on Twitter to get nasty about seed oils. But to
Yeah,
be fair, if you take any of these crops and you distill the calories into a liquid form and you drink it, obviously it
yeah,
has to be done in moderation. It's not that it's evil, but there's so much calories packed in, like there's so much nutritional density, or maybe not nutritional, but calorie wise.
yeah.
Like that's something I really have to watch is when I'm using oils. Of course, because I'm trying to dial my fats in too, and I love olive oil, but you know your fats go up very quickly when you're using oils. But yeah,
Nine
you need
grams.
it.
Like, yeah,
It lubricates everything, man. You got to have that if
yeah.
you like.
And
It's like it's more calories than the frozen vegetables you're cooking them in, but it's all healthy.
yeah. And how fats work actually too, they do help with your satiety purposes and digestion. They help with hormone health, especially. So everyone that used to think that low fat heart health check mark crap of, I don't even know, the early 2000s,
Right.
yeah, fats don't make you fat. We got to remember that.
Oh
Fats
man.
don't make you fat. A calorie surplus does.
This is what I'm telling everybody on the call. And this is what I'm excited to live again further in 2026. I'm telling you, a lot of these things we've been taught and a lot of these things we're living, and we're seeing all kinds of thumbs up in the chat here. I appreciate it. Or maybe when I'm going like this, I don't know. Either everybody's liking what we're saying, or our hand motions are giving us self-reinforcing emoticons here. But I'm telling everybody on this call, and that's why I want everybody to have this. You gain back all these things that used to be, thought of as evil, and we've got we've got 22 minutes left. If I'm going to be professional and wrap this up at the top of the hour, like promised. Still welcome any questions and we'll stop for that. But let's do this, Melissa. Let's do a lightning round on the 6 modules that we're going to do in this course. So we're going to do one a month. All you got to do is join the mastermind with this link. And Melissa, this is her affiliate link. And it's $29 US a month or 299 US for the year. And you'll join us on this journey of deep diving, or you can skip right to contacting Melissa, right, for coaching. That's my ultimate goal is to get people into the program with me. So when I see you at the trade shows, we can high five and be skinny and healthy. I don't know what's skinny, just healthy and happy and high fiving. But here's the first one. I'm going to put this in the chat. Boom. Why diets don't work. Number one. Give me the minute and a half lightning round on why diets. We've talked about it a lot, but it's going to be the first module.
So most often we think we need to do more and we need to do new shiny things, but often it's the boring basics and people ignore those.
Yep. Well, you debunked a lot of myths with me. Okay, the second one here. Do you have more on that?
Um, let's see. We think doing more is better than less. We try to rush the process. We don't seek sustainable, long-lasting fat loss. We want a quick fix. And we often forget that, hey, you didn't get fat overnight, so why do you expect to lose the fat overnight? That's the thing. Like we expect such fast results, and it doesn't work that way.
Took me a long time to get this fat. Let's be real.
Yeah.
50
It,
years.
it,
But
it-
5 pounds a year times 10 years. Whoops.
yeah, it adds up.
You're clinically obese, bro, or bruh, whatever they say. Bruh. Everything's bruh if you got a 10-year-old. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the one of the biggest things that attracted to me, working with you initially was like, what she's saying, all this stuff is bunk. I can have some of these foods back, this lifestyle back. So calories, macros, and proteins is where things get practical, and you really educate not just theoretically, but you live it every day. Calories is a foundation, protein matters, carbs and fats actually fit in.
Yeah,
Right. And it's awareness, not anxiety. Somebody said at the beginning, they're here for mental awareness. That is what Melissa teaches you. And Garnet is saying, excellent point, Melissa. No one ever got fat overnight. No one can lose years worth of overeating in a few weeks. So why do we think
yeah,
that? You're now going from like a 3 month or 6 month program to like, look, I work with people for a year.
yeah,
Right. So length matters.
yeah. So diving in quickly, crash course about macros, calories. So I kind of elaborate on this. Calorie counting, it doesn't work because what you eat does matter. How much macros, so how much protein you eat does matter. Carbs and fats, yeah, let them fluctuate, but how much protein you eat matters. Micronutrients, especially that fiber, does matter. And sticking within that caloric budget matters. If you want to lose fat, you want to be in a caloric deficit. If you want to, some guys are bulking and want to get more muscular, you need to be in a surplus, right? And if you want to maintain, you have to be in your maintenance calorie range. And oftentimes people will lose fat. And this is where I kind of talk about doing a 12-month program versus just even 4 or 6, because you need to reverse diet. You need to understand how to get into maintenance, because oftentimes people will stop. They'll either continue eating in a deficit, which you can't live in a deficit forever and always, or they go back to their old ways and the weight comes back and they're like, well, why did I gain it back? And you ask, did you just stop everything? And usually the question's like, yes. I went back to my old lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle change. It takes work. It takes a shit ton of work.
It does. It does. But it's really rewarding.
Yes.
Great summary. The next one is hydration, fiber, and digestion, a really overlooked
Yeah.
area, how this impacts energy, hunger, and fat loss.
Yeah. So,
Go ahead and then we'll answer Laura's question here.
okay. So hydration, we live in a dry area, first off. Like you go outside, it's dry outside. It's dry in your house, probably with like heat turned on. It's winter, like it's drier, first off. So drink your water. Drink at least 2.7 up to 4 liters of water a day. Lots of times, again, minimum for women is 2.7, ideally for men. And it depends on the body, how tall you are, body weight, all that. Yeah, how much water you need, but ideally at least 2.7 up to at least 4 liters a day. It's going to help with digestion. It's going to help with your recovery. It's going to help with your even like mood and mind. Hydration, we need it. We're 60% water. Think of us as like plants, basically. We need hydration. Uh, Fiber, the average North American is 90% of North America is eating less than the recommended fiber amounts. For women, it's 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. Men, it's 35 to 45 grams per day. And more often than not, we're eating more processed foods, which lots of it does get removed to fiber, where we're not eating we're not eating our bran. We're not eating our bran flakes and stuff like that. Like we're not eating enough fiber, and fiber and hydration go hand in hand, because if you don't eat enough, or if you eat too much fiber and don't have enough water, you could get backed up. If you aren't eating enough hydration as well, that could happen. So you got to make sure those two are partnered up really well. And then overall, fiber helps with digestion. It keeps you regular. It keeps you, it's really there for gut health. And once you notice you added more fiber in your day, you're going to notice that, hey, I'm feeling maybe even a little bit lighter because it's keeping you more regular, right? So those three really go hand in hand.
Free life hack for the group here. Get yourself a $60 bidet on Amazon. I just came back from Thailand. It will change your life on the subject of being regular. Laura's asking, if you only track your protein, what's your non-negotiable rate of grams of protein per pound of body weight?
Oh, see, this ranges from everywhere, but honestly, zero point 0.7 up to 1 gram
Mm,
is, and it depends on like your goals and stuff like that, but ideally anywhere from 0 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is the rule of thumb. Lots of people just sit at zero point 0.8, to be honest. 0.7 can be a little bit low for some individuals, so zero point 0.8 is probably that soft spot in between that most go off of.
nice. Great question. Thanks, Laura. Derek Axton is asking, what about the theory that your metabolism adjusts to your lower caloric intake over time? Is that a myth?
So it is a bit of a myth. We it's not so much our metabolism, it's our body kind of down regulates, if that makes sense. So this even happens with like when I was over exercising and under eating. My body was pulling from resources to find energy. So again, it was causing my hair to fall out, right? Like my nails looked like shit. My skin was poor because I didn't have enough nutrients in my body for it to function properly. So it kind of down it down regulates it. And oftentimes, if people do eat lower calories for a long, long period of time, you will need to build them up slowly. Um, Now, I don't know how extreme you're talking about, but often if you do a calorie deficit, you go up to a maintenance, you're fine.
I will say, Derek, working with Melissa, even though I am in a slight deficit, I hardly ever feel deficient or I'm missing out or, compared to where I used to be at, I guess. Maybe I came from such an extreme of fasting and restriction. I actually, that hasn't been the issue for me, I don't think. And the better I track it, the better I dial it in. One trick that I do is I know my calories and I have all of my calories and my net carbs, fat, and protein on my main screen, plus my water intake on my main screen on my phone. So I can take a snapshot at any time of day and throw it into my Melissa GPT, or you just do regular GPT, but Melissa GPT knows everything Melissa knows. And she or he or whatever you call AI in your life will tell you what to do next as far as, how to get to your goals. So anywhere I am, like I can take a picture of a menu at a restaurant. It helps me dial in. You got this much left of this and this and this. So that really helps. But down regulation versus metabolism adjusting, that's interesting. Maybe we'll have to get more into the science of that. Douglas Manis, how are you, my friend? Long time. Good morning, guys. Drinking water. Does it matter if it's tap, filtered, or bottled water? Are you a purist? Or you just drink out of the dugout?
I don't just drink out of a dugout, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, it matters less than what people think. We got to remember, like, yeah, most tap waters, like, if they have chlorine and stuff like that, like, it's still a hydration source. Don't get caught up on, I think people were selling hydrogen water. That was a
I, I,
trend. Did you buy it? Oh
I've
my
got,
gosh, Dan,
I've got two
what
of
is
them
water?
here in the
It's
house.
H2O. What is H2O?
Listen, I'm not a chemist. I'm just somebody who like sees things on Instagram and it retargets me. And I'm like, damn. What's
Yeah,
that guy? Gary Brecka. Gary Brecka. I had a Gary Brecka phase. I'm like, hydrogen water. It's gonna make my toes curl. I'm gonna jump over tall buildings. Alfred says
yeah.
he's been drinking out of a dugout for over 60 years. He's still around.
He's good. Yeah. It depends what your dugout looks like. If it's next to, I don't know, something not ideal, don't drink it. But yeah, hydrogen water, H2O, yeah, is water. So you don't need to buy hydrogen water. It's already in the water molecule. Going back to ideal water though, as long as it's water. So we got to remember too, we also get hydration from fruits, vegetables, like think of watermelon, think of cucumbers. They do have water in them as well. And ironically enough, and this is why I'm not saying to count it, but like even when you drink your coffee, majority of it is water. So you are actually still getting hydration from your coffee. That is a myth that it dehydrates you, unless you're drinking just tar water, like just pure caffeine, beans, and water, which I don't think anyone is. But ideally, you still want to get at least 2.7 liters of pure H2O water into your system, and then those on top.
My pour over is pretty black. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm still around. So guaranteed no microplastics, Alfred says in the dugout. Important. So Chris
Yeah,
is saying, and we're getting a little bit tight on time here, but of course, maybe we'll go a little bit over if we need to. But Chris is saying, awesome guys, thank you. I find that trying to count calories all the time is consuming and puts me off counting. Do you have a hack for that, especially if you do your own cooking? Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
So I do most of my own cooking, and I do use well, I go through phases of it. When I see the scale going up, I will put myself in a deficit, track, and get familiar with it. And being a macro coach, I do encourage tracking, because this is going to teach you what a portion looks like, but not just tracking and putting things on that scale and carrying on, but actually taking the time to look at that portion on the scale and being like, okay, this is what an actual portion looks like. So then when we aren't tracking, you can be like, okay, no, this is what a portion looks like. I have a mental image of it.
Right.
I know to kind of scale it out visually versus actually weighing it out. Now, another thing too is if you are starting out with just tracking, keep it simple to begin with, right? I know it kind of sucks, but eat a little bit more boring at first, and then once you get more experience with it, and you know what, you start exporting, maybe you're following recipes and you're following something, I don't know, I'm a Pinterester, so you can export it into MyFitnessPal and it'll pull the calories into it and portions, and you have it there at the palm of your hands. Like, technology is actually freakishly really good. And then the last case scenario is using an AI, taking a picture and having it say how much, what's the calorie breakdown, what's the macro breakdown of this food item. It's not going to be 100% because it doesn't see the oils. It doesn't see anything that you added to it. And we got to remember, those condiments are usually the ones that add up really quick because they are oil based. It doesn't see that. It doesn't know, is it a lean sirloin steak or is it a ribeye? It might not be able to differentiate between that 100%. But I think it's just taking time to be a little bit boring for a time being with your diet and then building on that. And it makes it easier versus going from not tracking to then tracking everything and then just being overwhelmed. I hope that helps, because it's a learning curve.
That's so good. But I'm going to be the devil's advocate here too and say you cannot make progress in almost anything in your life, whether it's your financial budget or your goals or your calories, unless you measure it. And
Yeah.
now, the key is doing it in the moment. If you leave it for half a day, if you leave it for a day, it gets infinitely harder. If you're doing your budget every day, if you're doing your caloric budget every day, all of that, and the awareness that comes from that, you cannot improve on things if you're not measuring them. It makes a difference in farms, financials, it makes a difference in personal budgets, and it makes a difference in fitness. And there's hacks, there's improvements, but it's kind of like, man, that you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. And
Yeah.
that's
And even,
why having a coach to keep you accountable makes a difference, because Melissa is there at the end of the week. You fill out a questionnaire. She can see all of your macros and what you ate every day, and she gives you feedback. Chris says great advice. Hopefully I wasn't being a jerk there, but
oh, no. And I was
that's
going
the
to add to
reality.
that,
Yeah.
log something versus nothing. Because I always tell you this as well, and I tell everyone this, logging something versus nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I have you guys using MyFitnessPal, but there's other tracking apps there. They have such a vast library. And you know what? It might not be 100%, but select something that seems realistic, log it. Like if it's lasagna, beef lasagna, you know what? Log it. It's something versus nothing. And then you're accounting for it versus not taking accountability for eating maybe something that was, I don't know, New York style cherry cheesecake, like whatever. I don't know.
Just put 1,000
Own
calories in
up
there
to it.
manually.
Yeah, because it is going to reflect, and like I say to you guys, it's going to reflect on the scale the next day, and I'll be like, you're showing that you ate in your caloric budget, but all of a sudden everything just jumped up. Like, clearly you either ate more carbs, you had a poor sleep, what happened this night? And I challenge my clients on that, and lots of times it'll be like, I didn't want you to see that I was tracking this, and I'm like, you don't need to hide what you're eating to me. Like, again, one off meal will not make or break your progress.
So Laura had asked, I really appreciate the question. It's a great buying
Yeah.
question. I hope you join us in the mastermind. I put Melissa's link where she is an affiliate, so she will be getting a portion of the funds, and I really want her to benefit from this, largely from getting new clients. But yeah, I put the link that you can join the mastermind, and it's not just Melissa in the mastermind. We're adding experts all the time in different fields. It's my goal to have like the most comprehensive network of experts over time. in agriculture, archived, and in all areas of our lives that we should be working on as people in the industry. I also put her Instagram there too, and I'm sure they can reach you and sign up directly if they're ready today, because you do have some room for clients, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, I do.
you might even be considering firing me and taking somebody else. I don't know. Maybe this is
No.
after the call talk, like Dan. Um, but I'm thinking of continuing. I know I'm going to continue for three more months, and maybe longer, because the benefit of a year sounds very good. Chris is asking, on the program, do we get started right away on macros and what to eat?
So typically I like starting off, I do an assessment week. So I usually offer 3 to 5 days of you guys tracking your macros as you are right now, because I really want to know what your current diet looks like. So you'll plug them into a spreadsheet. I will see that. I will see what your protein is per your kilograms of body weight, also your overall caloric budget per your body weight, and see where maybe you're eating way too little protein, but your carbs are tenfold, right? You're carb heavy, or maybe you're really under eating um, protein and carbs and have a very high fat diet. I don't know, right? So I do an assessment week, and then we kind of get started right after that. So 3 to 5 days, with one of the days being at least a weekend, is how I kickstart that. I know there was one question and Laura asked, and I do want to touch base on this, but the
Oh,
USDA
sure,
thing.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So especially for produce, that's going to be the most, not generic, but the most accurate basic unit of tracking, especially your fruits and vegetables. So if you type in, I don't know, carrots USDA, it's going to be very accurate there, for your produce especially, but usually for other things, not so much. But for fruits and vegetables, it's a great one there. But honestly, sometimes I'm a little more lenient with your, especially leafy greens and stuff. You don't need to be tracking those like 100%. Your starchy vegetables, definitely. So your potatoes, turnips, rutabagas, carrots, peas, corn, those ones are a little bit more calorie dense than some of your leafy greens ones, etc. Or even your crucifer vegetables, so your broccoli, cauliflowers. But yes, using USDA is going to be the most accurate unit within a tracking app.
See, see how much she knows, but it's the accountability, folks, that you need. Okay, we're gonna blast through these last three ones. We already touched on a lot of this, but just so everybody knows what's coming in the course, and I see a lot of folks are going to be signing up, no doubt. Eating out, travel, and social life. That's a huge one. Hey.
It is a huge one. This is this one takes a lot of work, and this is where often, if a client's really struggling with this, I have a questionnaire I'll send to them, and it really reflects their why. Why do you want to improve your health? Why do you want to improve your wellness? And again, lots of times I do. So I do mention this. I am quite focused on women's health and stuff like that, but I do work with men. I work with both. But lots of times the responses are, I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to be independent for as long as possible. I want to keep my mobility. I want to have the energy to climb up a ladder. I want to, like, remind yourself of your why. And I think that really, really grounds a person when they remind themselves about that. Eating out, looking up menu items in advance, asking for dressings on the side, things like that, traveling, having the proper snacks versus stopping at the local gas bar, even though you could find quite good snacks there at some of them, but things like that. And then social life. We still want you to have a social life, but there's tips and tricks on how to navigate them.
Oh, we get to keep our social life as well as carbs. This is too good to be
Yeah,
true.
it's a win-win.
How can training fit our real lives, Melissa?
Oh my goodness. And this is where, again, lots of times exercise comes easy to people and they feel like they could out exercise a poor diet. And you can't. You just can't. Exercise is good for keeping your movement, mobility, strength training. Strength training, we want to put muscle on. We want to have muscle mass versus having none. And this is where GLPs, and that could be even a
Mm.
discussion, but like lots of GLP users, they're not strength training, they're not eating enough protein, and we're going to have a society that is going to be weak and frail people because they're not going to have muscle mass. And quite frankly, especially for women, osteoporosis, brittle bones, all that is it's coming to a person on Ozempic or whatever GLP-1 user near you unless they take those proactive steps. So,
Well said.
yeah,
I was microdosing GLP-1 when we started.
yeah, yeah.
So we
And you
went
said it
through
didn't
all
make you
that.
feel good. Yeah,
Plateaus, tough weeks, staying the course. This is me.
this is for having a
It's my
coach.
life
Have a
story.
coach. Have a coach. Because something with plateaus is it's not even a plateau. Lots of times we'll get to like a week where it's staying, your scale is staying stagnant, stagnant, stagnant. All of a sudden it goes up and you're like, what the hell? I'm doing everything right. And then it drops and then some. And that is honestly what happens during fat loss. Your cells basically fill up. They're gonna stay like that for a while, and then all of a sudden it drops. And you're like, that's the swoosh. You'll see people talking about that on the social medias and stuff like that. But typically, a plateau isn't a plateau unless your weight stays the same for like 4 weeks. And we usually jump the gun and want to change things before that. And it's doing more harm than good. You don't need to drop your calories more. You don't need to add more exercise. Yeah, it's just trust the plan. Trust the plan.
I experienced all of that myself, and it's been great. I feel great, and I feel like this is something that I can continue to build on. You know, there's all these bricks of the foundation. If you build a good foundation, that's where you can build a skyscraper. If you're trying to build a skyscraper in a swamp of fad diets, you will be sinking. It's very simple. So with that, we're 3 minutes over, but I don't think, we're measuring, but we can still color in between the lines. I put the course modules in there. I put a little note about the growing the future mastermind. We are going to have conversations like this every month on every module with everybody that joins the group, and it's probably going to be even more private and intimate. It's not going all those conversations don't get published on the podcast. That is, we want that to be the next level of I guess intimacy or just privacy or whatever. But I really appreciate everybody that contributed today. It was wonderful to see who joined. It's amazing, and everybody needs to dial in their health. That is number one. It doesn't matter what happens in our lives. If we have an issue with our health, you could have 1,000 problems. You have a health problem, you have one problem, and that's your health. And we're not absolutely in control of it, like the weather with farming, but there's so many things that we can do that we have to take responsibility for, especially in today's day and age. You go to the waiting room, you look around that, clinic. Who is taking care of that God-given Ferrari? Who's doing that? Are you? Are you taking responsibility? So that's how I see it. That's my philosophy. Chris is saying, thank you. You too. Happy New Year to everybody on the call. What a great way to start the year. Douglas Mass is saying, thank you. This is great. You got a big smile on, Melissa. Are you happy with how today went?
I am. And I think what's really cool is, okay, there's 21 participants on here. You guys got to remember you're all here for the same reason. And oftentimes, more often than not, people feel like they're alone on their health journey, their fitness journey, their wellness journey, whatever you want to call it. It it makes it so much easier when you have a team, not even a team, but having a coach in the background, having a support group, which I do try having like interactive support group, providing tips, tricks, recommendations here and there, especially like again, we just went through the holiday season, advice there, just so that you're not feeling like you're doing this alone because it's hard. It's hard when you're doing something like this by yourself and you're gonna hit those bumps and hurdles and you might want to fall off. But I think having that community support and having that support from a coach, it makes such a big difference.
It's all the difference. So thanks for helping me on my health journey. It's meant the world. I'm really happy for everybody that joined today. It was great comments. Everybody's appreciative. Thank you, Melissa, for you stepped outside of your comfort zone to be here today too. You were a little bit nervous when you heard about all the people in the room, and you keep challenging yourself and stretching yourself. And I'm so proud of you because one of the big things I think everybody struggles with, myself included, is self-doubt and imposter syndrome and having the confidence. And there's only one way through it, people. It's straight ahead. Like
Yeah.
there's no other fix. You have to feel the fear and do it anyways. I was on a coaching call the other day with Corliss Rassel, who's a headliner at the Convergence conference, which Melissa is also doing a breakout. If anybody, I should put that into the chat as well. There was someone on the call who literally was setting goals for things they knew they would fail. And I
Yeah.
thought that was such a great practice. Like do things that you literally know you cannot. And I think it was line dancing and polar plunging. And she was looking for new things she could fail at. And I was like, damn, that's hardcore. That's next level. Like, you're not going to be a big success or you're going to fail outright before you start. But what courage and confidence and capability can you garner by doing that? It's mind blowing.
Fear of failure. And it's so funny how that keeps people from even stepping into a gym. Their fear of failing before they even started. Get out there.
That's
Take that
how I
step.
went to the gym, 10 years ago. I spent 2 years with a trainer. There's no other way I could do a squat. I literally could not do a full body motion with weight attached to it when I
Yeah.
started. And he took great joy in rolling me out on all my pain points and hearing me yell. But Melissa's great. She can give the right amount of tough love and be with you there on your journey. So I wish happiness and health for everybody in 2026. This is a great start, and we will see you all, I hope, in the mastermind, growing the future mastermind in 2026.
Yeah.
So thanks, Melissa. Any
Yeah.
final words to everybody here?
I just want to say thanks for everyone. I hope I answered most of your questions. And if not, we will answer them in the mastermind. And thanks, Dan, for pushing me to do this. You're getting me out of my comfort zone. So, like you said, this is good. This is good. I'll be now talking across Canada. Just kidding.
Yeah, international speaking tour on macros and micros and whatever else. So
Yeah.
no, you did great. I'm really proud of you and really proud to kind of show off. Hey, this is my coach. Like, isn't she wonderful? Like, get it, sign up yourself, experience this. So I was glad that Terry got me onto this. I was really glad that we got started. So happy New Year, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the mastermind and have a great 2026 in the field and in your personal wellness as well.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, everybody.